we're at the end of the 9th chapter of Bava Metzia. And in fact, we are pretty much at the end of the tractate, because the 10th chapter, the next chapter of Bava Metzia, is really an introduction or a bridge to the following tractate, to the tractate of Bava Batra. So this 9th chapter is really the closing chapter of the tractate. And we've gone through all kinds of interpersonal type of financial regulations. We've touched, by the way, on lending and borrowing and on interest. And we close very near the end of the 9th chapter on payment of wages. You can't let your staff wait more than 12 hours for their wages. Essentially, you can't make them wait overnight for their wages. If they finish during the day, they have the right to claim their wages at night. And the Mishnah is now going to close the 9th chapter with more, just touching on this issue of kind of what you can do during the day, about behavior during the day and the night. But it's going to touch on this with reference to lending. So we're going to go back to lending, but lending with security, taking a pledge for a loan. And we're going to need some pasukim. We're going to need some verses. We're in Devarim, in Deuteronomy, in the Parsha of Ki Teitzei, the 24th chapter. Ki tashev erecha mashat me'uma. When you lend your neighbor any manner of loan, and I've translated this, or Safari has translated this as neighbor. The word is re'echa. So again, it's someone you have a relationship with. It's the same word as is used in Song of Songs for lover. So you've got a relationship with this person. You lend anything to him. Lo tavo el beito la'avot avoto. You don't go into his house to fetch his pledge. And the Bartanura is going to comment, by the way, that maybe we shall glance at the Bartanura right now. The Bartanura is going to comment, Vehigia zman velo pra'o. If the time arrived and he didn't pay him back. So when we're saying we don't go in to get a pledge, at least in as the Mishnah understands this, this is someone who hasn't paid back his loan. So you're going to go to him to get some security that eventually he's going to repay him. And the Pasuk says, you don't go into his house. There's some respect. There's some respect for the dignity of the borrower. It's quite unlike a bailiff in the UK who's got the right to break into your house and take away your TV, for example, or your whatever, your furniture, if you fail to pay a debt. In Torah, the bailiff cannot go into your house. The pasuk continues, "Bachutz ta'amod." You have to stand outside. Veha'ish asher ata nosevo yotzi elecha et ha'avot hachutza. You stand outside, and the man to whom you lend brings out the pledge. And the Midrash learns out from him that not only do you stand outside, but even if you've come with an agent of the Bet Din, even the agent of the Bet Din has to stand outside. You can't enter this guy's house to take security. And then the Torah goes on to say, Ve'im ish anihu, if he's poor, lo tishkav ba'avoto, you can't sleep with his pledge. You can't hold the pledge overnight. So we can see the connection now with the wages. Hashev Tashiv lo et havotot kavo hashemesh. So when the sun goes down, you give him back the pledge. The Mishnah is going to think about how this works. V'shachav b'salmato uverechacha. And he's going to sleep in his garment and bless you. And again, the Midrash comments that even if he doesn't bless you, it's still a mitzvah. Because the verse closes, It's tzedakah, it's righteousness. You get the benefit of the righteousness, even if he doesn't bless you. Lifnei Hashem Elohecha, before the Lord your God. And the Pesukim, the verses also remark at this point. Lo yachavol rechaim varechev ki nefesh hu chovel. You can't take a mill. Rechaim varachev. These are the upper and the lower millstones. You can't take either of these two millstones as a pledge. Ki nefesh hu chovel. Because that's someone's life. If someone can't make flour, you're taking his life away. And then finally, you shouldn't pervert the justice due to a stranger or to an orphan. You can't take a pledge. You can't take a widow's garment as a pledge. You can't take a widow's garment as a pledge. So those are the verses. Now let's just see how the Mishnah is going to play with this. How he's going to extend it. Someone lent to his fellow. And we've already said, looking at the Bartanura, this is someone who's made a loan, but he hasn't been repaid. Someone's lent to his fellow. He can only take a pledge from him with the permission of the court. So he needs to go to the court, to the Bet Din, to get a pledge. And even if he has permission from the Bet Din, he can't enter the house to take the pledge. Neither he nor the emissary of the Bet Din. Because it says you'll stand outside. You're going to stand outside and the person will bring his pledge out. Even with an instruction from the Bet Din, with a court order, you can't go into his house. Let's say he had two utensils, two things you might take as a pledge. He takes one and gives back the other. Remember that the verse said we have to give him back his cloak at night. And the Mishnah is going to make this explicit. He gives him back his pillow at night and his plow during the day. So maybe he's going to pledge the pillow and the plow, but you can't take them simultaneously. You can't take the pillow at night because he's asleep. And you can't take the plow during the day because he's working with it. He's working with it. Having said that, if he dies, this must be that if the borrower dies, he need not return the pledge to his heirs. In other words, if the borrower dies, the lender just becomes a secured lender on the estate, and he can liquidate the collateral to redeem his loan. He doesn't have to return it if the borrower dies. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Omer. So Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says, look, even to the debtor himself, he doesn't need to return it. Ela ad shloshim yom, within 30 days. Umi shloshim yom ulhala mochro b'veit din. He need only return the pledge after 30 days. He can sell it with the consent of the Bet Din, with the consent of the court. Almana bein shehi anya uvein shehi ashira ein mamashkenin ota shenemar velo tachvol beged almana. You can't take a pledge from a widow, whether she's a rich widow or a poor widow. The verse doesn't offer any latitude. It just says we don't take a widow's garment as a pledge. Lo chovelet harechaim over b'lo taseh v'chayav mishem shnei chelim. If you take a millstone as a pledge, if we take a millstone as a pledge, we violate a negative commandment. That's fine. But we seem to violate it twice. V'chayav mishem shnei chelim. We violate it on the basis of two instruments. That is the upper and the lower millstone. And then we're going to quote the verse. Lo yachbol rechaim varachev. The verse states both parts, rechaim varachev, the upper and the lower millstone. Velo rechaim varachev bilvad amru ele b'chol davar she'osin bo ochel nefesh. And they didn't just say, the verse isn't restricted to an upper millstone or a lower millstone, but actually refers to anything that's necessary for food. You can't take as a pledge someone's food preparation equipment. Shenemar ki nefesh hu chovel, because he's taking his life as a pledge. You can't take someone's life as a pledge. As a lender, you have certain rights to redeem your loan, but you have restrictions too. There are certain things that you absolutely can't do, and you can't take someone's life as a pledge.